Okay, what about this? I looked at the portraits of classical writers. My eye stopped on Essenin's photo. Last year, I was tasked with learning any poem, and Dad suggested I learn one about the dog Jim, written by Essenin. I don't remember all of the stanzas by now, but the last one was somehow deeply ingrained in my memory. I'm sure she'll come here in my absence. Please catch her eye. Go kiss her hand for me. For all my real or fancied errors, asking forgiveness of her in humility. Anything else for me to check out? That's a nice poem, by the way. Is that haiku? Nothing else to check out. Alright, wait. What's that? Every boy my age I knew had something like this in his arsenal. Powder firecrackers that blow up with a very loud sound. Especially inside an archway. It is said that they're produced in China and they're single, and one of them can blow your fingers off if you light it up and clutch it in your hand. Yeah, why would you do that? Especially the Black Corsair type. They won't be enough to blow up plastic soldiers, but when it comes to stuff made of plaster, they should work. Okay, interesting. Anything else I'm missing here that needs to be scoped out? No. Okay, let's sit down. After a moment of hesitation, I sat down at Baburin's desk, the place where I was supposed to be assigned by Lilia Pavlovna at first. Pavlovna. The chatter resumed as if someone just unpaused the movie.
Бабушка Бабурина такой кипиш устроила, когда он домой не явился. Сначала в школу прибежала, потом ментов вызвала. Да-да-да.
Katya snuck a cutting glance at me, then leaned into her neighbor and whispered something. Aw, you're another bully, aren't you? Girls from the second row also leaned in, shared something with them too. Whispers, nods. I kept catching her stare on myself. Her neighbor stared too. The whole class was watching me. It was like they felt the need to watch me because they were searching for traces of blood on my fingers. I wanted to defend myself and shout, "Guys, listen, I'm innocent." The delinquents turned around and stared at me in silence. Their looks were dripping with malice. But why? What did I do to them? Their friend went missing and they're still focused on me. Well, they obviously think it's you. Suddenly, I noticed Biasha drilling a hole in my nose with his eyes. It felt like he was about to point his finger at me and shout at the top of his lungs. "Everyone, look! Baburin snatched his glasses yesterday and now he has them back! Murderer!" But he remained silent, as if there was nothing special at all about my glasses. I may be going mad, but I think Biasha knows something. He knows something, but he won't tell me what. Roma gave me a meaningful glance as if reminding me of his promise. My aching temple reminded me of it. I needed to stay away from Polina. As if looking for protection, I clutched the ruler until my hand hurt.
Не надо быть Коломбо, чтобы догадаться. Кто на Бабурина зуб имел? Кто его вчера ударил? Поиздевался, а после...
The metal ruler fell out of my weak fingers. It hit the floor with a jingle and that made the other kids shudder. "I'm throwing you into the forest, Katya, first chance I get." Katya bit her tongue and squirmed nervously. Chairs scraped against the floor. My classmates moved away from me, closer to the exit, towards the teacher's desk. I was not the only one to catch wind of that change. Romka and Biasha looked around and winced in contempt. Too bad they weren't afraid of me like everybody else.
Да прикуси ты! Бабурин, небось, с бабкой посрался и дымилна. Скоро найдется.
Найдется, ага. Во враге, со вспоротым брюхом.
I gulped. Ooh. I imagined Shoma in a snowy blanket, his face white like a fish belly. Split down the middle by a crevice of his mouth, snowflakes falling on his glassy eye and filling up his throat. See? I could almost hear his condescending tone. "It's all your fault." But why was Semyon the only one to get his just desserts for bullying me? Weren't all of them supposed to disappear? Ramka, Biasha, Katya, along with every laughing onlooker? I saw all those words pass me by. I wish I... Well, you know what? I'll pause it when I edit this video. Of course, Semyon did me a favor by disappearing. Thanks to him, my classmates now stared at me in awe. But that was only one side of the coin. What if I'll have to repay that favor soon? The door creaked. Polina entered the classroom. I straightened up in a hurry so she wouldn't see me looking like a scared critter. Polina found me with her eyes, gave me a short nod and went to her seat. Okay, here's an odd thought. What if Polina's the one that did it? She has a wicked streak in her that we don't know about. Katya rushed to her neighbors again like a lab rat that saw a treat and started whispering, switching her gaze between me and Paulina. Messages on pieces of paper started jumping around the classroom. The ringer's trill announced the start of the class.
Так, заканчиваем бардак. Дети, встаньте. Петров, тебя это тоже касается.
Lilia Pavlovna went to her desk, followed by a policeman in a uniform. It was the man that visited us just recently, tall, and his stare so sharp you could get cut on it.
Здрасте.
Здравствуйте!
Садитесь. Познакомьтесь, это старший лейтенант Константин Владимирович Тихонов. Он задаст вам несколько вопросов и проведет небольшую лекцию по безопасности.
Лучше лекция от милиционера, чем уроки.
The class livened up. Talking to a policeman was way better than studying. I, on the other hand, was ready to sit through hundreds of hours of Russian literature just to escape the lieutenant's oppressive stare. His brown eyes felt around the classroom looking for me. Hair stood on the back of my neck and an icicle had lodged in my gut.
А правда, что Бабурина маньяк убил?
Yo, Katya, you need to stop instigating.
Екатерина, ну-ка цыц. Вопросы здесь взрослые задают.
Просто нам всем страшно. Может, убийца бродит где-то рядом?
Yeah, go in the forest.
Или сидит у нас за спиной?
No, just walk in the forest, trust me. It's definitely not me, though. Her sly stare was directed at me. Tikhonov, wow, okay, stepped in between the rows of desks and started walking at an excruciating slow pace, brushing his fingers against the chairs he passed by. Some of the students almost broke their necks following his movements. That's how a crowd of commoners would gleefully anticipate a public execution in the Middle Ages. And he just walked, getting closer and closer to me. I grit my teeth to stop myself from screaming. Calm down, breathe. You didn't kill or kidnap anyone. You didn't, so you got nothing to worry about. God, why is this guy's face so close? He already knew the answer to his question, but the policeman still asked in a stern voice.
Петров Антон?
Да.
Встань, Петров.
My muscles turned to stone. I got up, unglued myself from the chair. I felt like I could hear all my joints creak in the process. I only wished that Paulina wouldn't turn around and see the grimace of horror on my face. If only I could be somewhere far away, in the forest, digging myself into a snow pile, rolling up into a ball there. The officer stared at me as if he was about to lock a pair of handcuffs on my wrist. I wonder how cold those bracelets are to the touch. I imagined myself getting jailed and put into a juvenile detention center where tens of semyons would constantly harass me.
Я ничего не знаю. Я тут ни при чем.
А тебя никто и не обвиняет.
Yet, you're pretty much excluding everyone else but me at the moment.
Пока что.
Only then I noticed a file that said case number in his hand. It had a gray cover made from a rough carton. It flopped on the desk like a guillotine blade that slid down on someone's neck. With a measured motion, Tikhonov opened the file, still studying me with a gaze. I caught a glimpse of the documents and photos. They showed prints in the snow. They looked like animal prints.
Ты с Семеном Бабуриным общался?
Я знал его всего один день.
Все знают, Петров его ненавидел.
Yo, Katya, sit back down. I turned red. You ugly bitch. I wanted to sink my teeth into Katya's face and chew out her cheek. Instead, I replied with the calmest voice I could muster.
Мы повздорили вчера. Но он первый начал. Я его ударил.
Сильно?
Да нет, так.
I waved my hand indecisively. Tikhonov looked at my fist as if he was surprised I managed to hit the big kid from the photo. Surprisingly, Lilia Pavlovna came to my rescue.
Бабурин проблемный подросток. С шилом кое-где. Сам ко всем лез.
Thank you, Teach. I saw my name there, dude. The officer replied with a meaningful nod and fished out a notebook out of the file.
Это твое?
I averted my gaze. It was a math notebook with my name on it. My classmates devoured me greedily with their eyes. It felt like even the writers in the portrait squinted at me in suspicion.
Мое.
В лесу нашли. Там же тракторист, что снег убирал в последний раз, видел Бабурина.
I started blinking in bewilderment. Ramka ransacked my school bag. This notebook probably just got lost somewhere in the bushes. The lieutenant knew about the school brawl, but was he aware of the fight in the forest clearing? I had witnesses that could testify to Semyon and I walking in different directions after that. I looked toward the boys, hopeful. Ramka, who had sat behind Tikhonov, put a finger to his lips. Nope. Rat him out. Rat him out. And when the officer quickly turned around, he pretended to pick on his nose. I deciphered his signal. Boys like Ramka would probably say something like snitches get stitches in a situation like this. I frantically fixed my glasses. Wait, Semyon took them away yesterday, but now they're...
Так что ты делал вчера в лесу, Антон?
Я в школу через лес хожу. Могла выпасть легко.
You should have ratted them out, dude. I understand the whole no narking, but in this situation, I don't like those two. Rat them out. Easily, just like me producing this half-truth.
Будь осторожнее.
Before I could realize whether it was a genuine piece of advice or a veiled threat, the teacher said,
Класс. А сейчас лейтенант расскажет о правилах, которые вам необходимо соблюдать.
Так маньяк все-таки есть.
Пока мы ничего вам сказать не можем. Но есть преступник или нет, вы должны четко помнить о собственной безопасности. Вас бережет милиция, вас опекают родители и учителя. Но в первую очередь защищать себя должны вы сами. Итак, кто там что хотел узнать?
A stockade of arms rose from the desks.
У вас оружие с собой?
The kids shouted over each other, swarming the policemen with questions. In an attempt to calm down that chorus, he moved toward the blackboard. The gray file was left lying in front of me. I stared at it, my breathing so ragged that it might have looked like someone who just ran a 100-meter sprint. Beads of sweat rolled down my back. I looked around the classroom. My classmates were catching the officer's every word. Only Ramko was saying something to Biasha. Lilia Palovna was staring into the window, fighting back yawns.
Комендантский
well.
час, причин пока нет.
Let's see.
Слишком мало времени прошло с момента исчезновения вашего.
As soon as I touched the folder, Tikhonov lashed at me with his eyes. My hand instantly moved away as if the stare actually hurt. The officer just kept staring at me without saying a word, making me squirm under the weight of this uncomfortable silence and the sneering looks of my classmates. And then he suddenly continued his speech as if nothing ever happened.
Одноклассника. Мы все уверены,
Am I
что
supposed to do
найдется
something without
живым
looking?
и
Oh,
здоровым.
boom, baby. Nobody paid me any mind, so I slowly opened the file. My fingers started sifting through the documents. Ksenia Talalaeva, 6 years old, left her home sometime in December. Identifying features? Okay. My heart almost jumped out of the ribcage. A round-faced girl no older than Alia smiled at me from the photo. She looks like a younger version of Paulina, the first victim of a serial killer. The first child to disappear in the forest without a trace. I turned another page. Vladimir Matyukin, 10 years old. Volvo was the second. His mitten hanging from the branch, his name called out by desperate adults and repeated by the sneering echo. Lilia Pavlovna coughed, trying to calm down the rowdy students. I yanked my hand away, and the file closed.
Говорим о диких животных. Как известно, в наших лицах водятся волки, медведи, лисы.
Oh, come on, dude. Your back was turned. I climbed my teeth from surprise, pushed myself into the back of the chair, blinking in bewilderment. The officer silently gathered the documents and gave me a stern look.
Больно ты любопытный, Петров.
You left the book on my desk, dude!
И еще раз.
I don't care about speech, man.
Если вы заметите в поселке кого-то подозрительного, Неважно, возле школы или на лесной тропинке, сразу сообщайте в милицию. Телефон-то знаете? Спасибо, ребята. Спасибо, Лилия Павловна. И это... Одноклассника вашего мы найдем.
Yeah, right. A thought flashed in my mind. Dig through enough ditches and maybe you'll be able to piece them together. Like Legos. My thoughts turned evil for some reason. I couldn't control them. I tried to switch to the lieutenant's speech about suspicious individuals. What if I saw the killer before? What if I was a hair's breadth away from them? Suspicious people. How suspicious was the fox girl that wandered in the darkness? A weirdo that always appears out of nowhere and then dissolves into thin air with her riddles and rhymes. Could she really harm the hulking Semyon? Should I tell the officer about her? What if the lives of other kids depend on this? Of the cute Senia and Vova too. Wait, what if I get mocked for speaking out? What if they'll start whispering behind my back, or what's even worse, think that I'm insane? Romka gave me a stern look over the shoulder. I thought someone like him would approve of cooperating with the police. Katya's braid dangled nervously behind the delinquent sitting in front of me. My hand was glued to the desk.
До свидания, лейтенант.
Tikhonov was saying goodbye to Lilia Pavlovna. He was about to leave. It'll be too late soon. Alright. Well, actually, telling him anyway, I don't think he's gonna believe me. It's like a waste, if anything. Yeah, it's telling them about Elisa, the fox girl, all the strange things happening in the forest. He's not gonna believe it. I'd be very shocked if he did. I'm not afraid of this kid, though. However, I guess we're gonna go with the obvious. We'll stay silent. No way. I've had enough of humiliation. I'll keep my head down like a bunny. I'll lock my fingers and zip my mouth. You avoid everyone's attention. The bell rang. Lilia Pavlovna passed by without looking my way. Polina left after her. My classmates went silent at the same time as if someone muted the TV sound. How about that? They followed me with their eyes the whole time I was passing between the rows. Judgmental looks. I felt like I was in the scopes of many sniper rifles. I squeezed through the barricade made of desks looking for Polina. But I stumbled into my new buddies instead. Romka swaggered up to me.
Решил сдать нас ментам?
Но я ничего не сказал.
Зато подумал на.
No, I didn't think about it. I was gonna do it. Romka towered over me, breathing out a faint smell of tobacco.
Ты сильно ошибаешься, думая, что без Сёмы у тебя настанут веселые деньки. Мы тебя сосвету живем, понял? До скорого, очкарик.
My head tilted forward from his slap.
Вот же лохна!
I wasn't surprised to find a note stuck to my back during the break. It said, "Kick me." My nightmare clearly wasn't about to end. Boo! It's been 7 days since the lieutenant visited our class. At first glance, everything was still the same. The forest still held out its gnarly claws toward the village, and the wind whipped up white flags weaved from powdery snow every night. While my parents argued in the other room, I would turn off the TV's volume to silence their muffled voices and sit close to Alia. Volva's and Semyon's forest were still 2 black spots on the notice board, and round-faced Senya hasn't returned home too. But something did change. I could see how different the looks of my classmates were. They met me with a new portion of pokes and insults. Contempt, mockery, and loneliness became my faithful companions. But most importantly, a shadow slid across my desk, leaving behind a mysterious note. I glanced at the space between rows, but the messenger was already nowhere to be found. Who sent me this note? What could this carefully ripped out and neatly folded piece of paper be hiding from me? More threats and humiliation, or... I took the piece of paper and carefully inhaled the wafting aroma. Blackberry. I'll be waiting at the cul-de-sac near the dressing room. Come alone. Inside was a message in beautiful handwriting. I'm waiting at the dead end near the dressing room. Come alone. Drunk on that sudden call, I immediately started walking, looking over my shoulder from time to time, making sure nobody's following me. Even though I suspected it could be another trap set up by Ramka and Biasha at first, this buzzing thought soon left my mind. The two of them didn't have enough combined brain power to fake Paulina's note so carefully. And I didn't even notice how I almost broke into a run and jumped around the corner. And as soon as I did that, I ran into somebody inside the dark nook.
Ой!
Like a magic bird, a green notebook glided into my feet. I'm trying to read that. I can't. Paulina puffed her cheeks in exaggerated anger.
Петров! Да ты совсем зрение потерял.
I fixed my glasses. My nearsightedness wasn't that embarrassing anymore. I bent down and picked up the notebook.
Прости, я так торопился. Ты меня ждала? Что случилось?
Paulina's attitude changed from fake anger to softness. She stood there silent, probably picking out the right words. She had a worried look and sad look in her eyes, as if she hoped that I'd continue this conversation and stop us from drowning in this awkward silence. But I didn't say a word. I was just staring at her trembling lips. Finally, Paulina heaved a deep sigh and started talking meekly.
Антон, скажи, ты на меня сильно злишься?
I couldn't reply before she continued.
Ох, ну конечно сильно. Что за дурацкий вопрос такой? Прости, пожалуйста, я не хотела, чтобы так вышло, честно. Когда Пятифанов, этот изверг, пнул ту собачку, это словно и не я была, понимаешь?
Nope. That face made it perfectly clear. You liked what you saw. She sniffed, and even though it was already quite dark outside, I couldn't notice her ocean-colored eyes sparkle.
Да, так нельзя.
So she's an actress. A good one, too. I know that's wrong.
Нельзя смеяться над тем, как издеваются над животными. Не знаю даже, что ты обо мне подумал. Но я ничего не могу с собой поделать, Антон! Стоит мне подумать о дедушке, что он пережил в тот день, когда на него напала эта стая бродячих псов, как мой разум словно затуманивается.
Paulina's notebook in my hand was still waiting for me to return it to its rightful owner, but I just couldn't find the right moment to do
Ты,
that.
наверное, считаешь, что я чокнутая, да?
She looked at me with hopeful eyes while I was absent-mindedly going over all the crazy stuff that my subconscious was producing lately. I clearly wasn't qualified to judge someone's sanity.
Мне не всегда удается себя контролировать. Но я точно не причинила бы кому-то вреда, слышишь?
Let's hold off on that for now.
Не то что этот садист Ромка. Антон, прошу, держись от него подальше.
Have you not seen him coming to me all the time? I'm the one that's trying to avoid trouble. Something clicked in my head. Exactly. I stared at Paulina with suspicion.
Неделю назад во время драки ты называла его по-другому. Ромочкой. Скажи, вы что, встречаетесь?
Paulina jolted as if struck by lightning.
Еще чего? Этот урод ко мне приклеился, как банный лист. Такие, как он, не то что намеков, грубых слов не понимают.
Her voice became calmer when she noticed the bruises and cuts on my face.
Прости еще раз, что так вышло. Я правда надеялась, что смогу помочь тебе.
I highly doubt that too.
Зря я поверила, что у таких подонков может быть какой-то там кодекс чести. Вот, у меня есть для тебя подарок.
She unbuttoned the top of her jacket and instantly got embarrassed after noticing my stunned look. What the hell's that? Then she took an amulet on a thick leather thread with a big animal claw off her neck and held it out to me.
Этот оберег подарил мне дедушка.
So why the hell are you giving it to me?
Говорит, он помогает от всяких бесноватых и одержимых. Он ему от одного шамана достался. Можешь не верить, но когда дедушка забыл его надеть, с ним и случилось то несчастье.
I repeat, why are you giving it to me? That's your grandfather's. I stuck another glance at the intensely scratched claw of an unknown beast.
А чей он? Ну, в смысле, коготь.
Даже не знаю. Может быть, медведя, а может и тигра. Кого только не встретишь в нашем лесу. В любом случае, пожалуйста, прими вместе с моими извинениями.
You're gonna give me the choice, aren't you? You know what? This is one of those scenarios where I'm not gonna take it because that's her grandfather's. I know, like, she, or at least in my head, I believe she means well. I think she wants to make friends. I could be wrong. She might be with Romka, whatever his name is, the bully. She might be in cahoots with him, just being a really great actress. No, I'm not. That's your grandfather's. You might need that.
Давай он побудет у тебя.
Exactly.
Это все-таки ваша семейная реликвия. Да и мне будет спокойнее, если ты будешь под защитой.
Yeah. I might die an early death or have a bad end, but we'll see how it goes.
Всегда думаешь о других. Знаешь, мне казалось, что благородство бывает лишь в книжках. Пока не встретила тебя.
I felt a bit embarrassed, so I started shuffling my feet.
Скажешь тоже.
Я серьезно. А что насчет моих извинений? Их ты примешь?
Are you gonna give me the choice to accept that too? Paulina flashed me a charming smile, looking me straight in the eye. I turned even
Да
redder.
я и не думал на тебя обижаться. Было бы на что.
I'm still very skeptical of her, though. Paulina studied me with her eyes and clicked her tongue.
А знаешь, на что ты похож, Антоша? На блюзовую импровизацию.
I blinked in bewilderment.
Это как?
Для меня все люди с чем-то ассоциируются.
И для меня. Но не с музыкой же.
Вот как раз с музыкой. Бывают люди гитарные соло, или барабанный бой, или военный марш, как наша Лилия Павловна. А ты такой задумчивый, таинственный, иногда немного печальный.
I grew it thoughtful, not necessarily mysterious, but the sad part is understandable considering his situation.
Ты точно блюз.
А почему импровизация?
А это когда слушатель не догадывается, куда свернет мелодия, какой темп возьмет.
Of course, some of the things Paulina said went completely over my head, but I couldn't stop looking at her smile. Light like a breeze in May, and her eyes deep in blue.
Чтобы распознать в тебе музыку, нужен опыт и вкус. Это не какая-то там эстрада.
Я, наверное, вообще не знаю, что такое этот блюз.
Paulina gasped and frowned, which made her look even more beautiful.
Не произноси при мне такие слова. Я тебе обязательно дам кассету. Раньше мне дедушка из города столько музыки привозил. И джаз, и свинг, и классику. Это он подметил, что у меня склад ума, как у музыканта. Я еще совсем маленькой пыталась на бумаге записать звуки природы. Пение дождя, леса.
Эх, мне бы твои уши.
А мне бы твои глаза.
I tensed up, worried that she was making fun of me, but Paulina shook her head.
Да-да, я серьезно. У тебя глаза художника. Смотришь на вещи и фиксируешь их. Я так не умею.
Katya walked past us with her trademark frosty glare. We dove into the shadows, trying to escape it.
Теперь понимаешь, почему мы тут прячемся? Вот из-за таких, как она.
А Катька какая мелодия.
Paulina flashed me a sly smile.
Скрип несмазанных дверных петель.
Ooh.
Знаешь, такой мерзкий дискант.
I giggled, covering my mouth. Katya didn't hear our whispers, but she suddenly glanced over her shoulder, clearly annoyed. A moment later, she sighed and went her way. I remembered about the notebook I was still clutching in my hand. I turned it in my hands. Friends only. Instead of a subject name, the front side had the name of the owner in 2 words. Friends only.
Любопытной Варваре кое-что оторвали.